What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. And you know, one thing is for sure when you see me, you know the Motor City Cats. We back at it. We came to give you stats, not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. We got some things to get into today because we have news. And there hasn't been too much news during this current news cycle. I don't even know if we could call it a news cycle. We're just gonna call it a cycle because there ain't been too much coming out of the Detroit Lions. Ain't been too much coming out of Allen Park. It just ain't been too much coming out of nowhere. However, we do have some news. We got some things that we can talk to. We got some things that we can commentate upon, analyze, pontificate, prognosticate, and do all of the cates. You know what I'm talking about? Um, what up, though? Just a fan. He says, "Will you read my chat?" I will. Um, so for those of you, before we get into all of the Lions business that we need to get into and all of the Lions news that we need to talk about. Um, Unfortunately, my man KG will probably not be able to join the show too often. I believe there were some higher ups doing the higher up thing. Okay. So he popped up on LNU. Um, and then I'll let you guys fill in the blanks. But do not fret. I will still be periodically on Wake Up Woodward. I have an open invitation to do that. So you would still be able to see me and KG together vibing, only for a few minutes at a time. Though I really appreciate KG, man, and the limited amount of times that he was on the show. I think he's a real value. He's a real talent, and I was looking forward to doing shows with him every Monday. I will see if there is an issue with him. Was it just because it was LNU, or would he be able to come on my show? So if he's able to come on my show, then we can look for him anywhere from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Um, but yes, that is what I needed to get out for there. Um, yes, Devin Davis, we're gonna talk about all that. All right. So we will go ahead and we'll start off with that news. Just fan says you should try to get Broder as a guest. I think Broder is like very busy these days. I've been reaching out to him. I probably should just text him on his number instead of instead of Twitter or X or whatever. But yeah, I definitely want to get Broder on the show, but we'll have to see what his time looks like to do so. But I will definitely reach out with. I'm gonna send him a text today, and I'll tell him just a fan wants him. The people want to know where you're at on the show. Um, all right, so we'll start off with the news of the day. Well, not the news of the day. John Kaminsky has medically retired from football. We know that he missed the entirety of last season when I believe it was a torn ACL. So he's decided to hang it up after 6 years of playing in the NFL. I believe he played with the Falcons and the Lions. I have this feeling that he played for the Giants, but I know he played for the Falcons and the Lions. He was really good for us a few years ago, and then the year before last, it wasn't the greatest season. It was kind of a down season, but we were looking forward to him returning. That is a very big depth piece for us. John Kaminsky was able to do some really good things for us in the run game and even in the pass game, pressuring the quarterback and all these things. I think he had a couple sacks. But if you're looking at the Pat O'Connor situation and saying, well, we need more than that. Well, we got Pat O'Connor. John Kaminsky is medically retired. So this is a blow that we did not anticipate. Obviously, we thought he would be coming back and he would be coming back healthy and ready to go. But I guess now we know why it was all quiet on the John Kaminsky front, because he's not going to be coming back. He's not going to be playing in the NFL anymore. So hopefully he goes on to have a good quality of life. Generally, when you get all these injuries and things, football becomes secondary. You know, can you be a good husband? Can you be a good father? Can you play with your kids? Can you, move around like you want to be able to move around? So the health is the more important thing that we need to be looking at. So congratulations to John Kaminsky on the career that he had. And hopefully he has a great career and life after football. So who do we replace him with, says Devin Davis. Now, that's a good question. Here is the other news of the day. The Detroit Lions are at the owners' meetings in Palm Beach, Florida. They're palming it up at the beach. It looks amazing out there. Probably having a great time. Here is the thing that has come out. There was a couple of interviews from Brad Holmes. Now, Brad Holmes did sit down with Mike Florio, which was amazing to see. I just finished watching that interview. He sat down with Mike Florio, and we're going to go through the things. He didn't say this piece of information that I'm about to tell you in the Mike Florio interview, but I'll get to this piece of information because it is top of mind, and it is what we were just talking about. We were talking about John Kaminsky. So Devin Davis says, who are we going to replace him with? Well. It's a very interesting development. People like me and a lot of people like you guys have been holding out hope for a return of one Za'Darius Smith. Now, Brad Holmes did not say 100% for certain that he is returning, but he did say that the reason that they had to let him go is because they just couldn't afford him with all the things that they've got coming down the pike. Obviously, they're trying to save money for extensions. You got Kirby Joseph, who's going to get that extension. You got Aiden Hutchinson, who's going to get an extension. And you got one Jameson Williams, who's not getting extended per se, but he is going to have that fifth-year option picked up. Brad Holmes talked about Jameson Williams and his impact and what he has to do to continue to develop and mature, and he seems to be very happy. They seem to be very happy with Jameson Williams, much to the chagrin of some of you. I personally, if you don't know this, am the official keeper of the JMO, and I do need to get some shirts printed out. Official keeper of the JMO. If you want to be a JMO keeper, you can join the club for $9.95 an hour. No, not an hour. But Za'Darius Smith was let go because they said they just couldn't afford him. Obviously, there were contract escalators and things of that nature. So if he was going to be on the team next season, it would have cost them about $15-16 million. And the reason is because of those void years, which would have kicked in had he not been on the team the year after next anyway. So that was going to be pretty much the cap hit. It was going to be guaranteed to be $15-16 million. However, Brad Holmes did say that he is welcome, or he is not welcome. He is open to bringing him back. Obviously, he wants him back. He knows what he was able to do on this team. He knows what it would look like on the other side of Hutch. So he's open to bringing him back, and he also has been in contact with his agent. They're keeping in touch. And the whole Cash Doll thing is another, situation. He's going to Ghana. When you go to Africa with a woman, it's serious. It's not just a flash in the pan. It's serious. They might mess around and get married. You understand what I'm saying? And if they do, look, Cash Doll, I don't know you. And I know you don't know me. Cash Doll, don't wait for Za'Darius to ask you to marry him. Ask Za'Darius to marry you. That's the thing. That's all I need from Cash Doll, because I know, you know what I'm saying? So just do your thing, Cash Doll. Just drop down on one knee, be like, Za'Darius, DeMontez Smith. I don't know what his middle name is. I just made it up. Zadarius DeMontez Smith, will you take my hand in marriage and make me your lawfully wedded wife forever and ever and ever and ever? And he'd be like, yes, I will, Cash Doll. And you'd be like, but the stipulation is you go ahead, sign that contract. I don't care if it's $5 million. Zadarius, I don't want you just for your money. I want you for your Zadariousness. You know, that's what that's gonna be. All right, let me go ahead and get to the chat before I get to more of the information that we have. Because I said we got a packed show, we got a lot of information, we got a lot of stuff to go over. Devin Davis says, do we have any cap with him retiring? I don't know the cap implications. I think he had only one more year on his deal. Generally you get some cap relief when players retire. Detroit Fan Man says, kind of miss Kaminsky already. Yeah, he was a good dude, man. He was a good dude. Very, very important part of the team. He was one of those glue guys, so it's unfortunate, but good for him as far as life goes. Kane Press says her messages are deleting. You talking about a Facebook page? Bears fans on the Facebook page don't listen. When Bears fans actually can talk about W's over the Lions on a consistent basis, then I will be concerned. But I don't think that will happen, especially with Osama bin Johnson at the helm. Just Fan says, sounds like Easy doesn't want to keep the JMO. Hey, I guess he's on the fence, bro. I'm officially all in on the JMO. Devin Davis says, let me see here. Who do you think we're going to take at 28 if we don't trade up? Like, I think we will trade up to 14 through 17. I will get to that because we did have some talk about what's going to happen in the draft. Shout out Nicole Roberts from Facebook. She says, go Lions, Nicole Roberts. And here we're gonna give this. There we go. Kane Press says, I'm so tired of Chef ignoring SMH. She's really mad. Okay, so guys, make sure you drop in and give her that attention. All right. So as we said, Zadarius Smith is a candidate to return to the Detroit Lions. Now, we know my stance on Marcus Davenport. It's every time I get on here, it's a clip of me talking about Marcus Davenport. I'm not going to give y'all any fodder today. All right. So those people that think I'm a Davenport hater, I love Davenport. I support Davenport. I want Davenport to be a 100% contributor on this team. Hell, even if he's a 80% contributor on this team, it would be better than what he gave us last season. But Zadarius Smith coming back to the Detroit Lions automatically adds a dynamic to this team that we were searching for last year and that we actually got last year. However, it was too late when we got it. It wasn't too late for the team. It was just too late because Hutch had been injured and so on and so forth. So we weren't able to see what we believe can be a dynamic duo together, right? So it's the second coming of Zadarius and Myles Garrett. Now, is Hutch on the level of Myles Garrett? Not yet, but I do believe he is ascending to that level, and I do believe he will be getting paid as though he is on that level very, very soon here. So Zadarius coming back would just add a level of peace and calm to the entire fan base. Although there are those out there who don't seem to like Zadarius, who are very slanderous about Zadarius. Listen, if you're one of those fans that is upset about players leaving teams to get money elsewhere, just remember, you are a fan that takes enjoyment and entertainment from this game that they play. The players play this game for money. They don't play it for free. They don't play it to give hometown discounts. They have families and they need to provide for their families. Now, whether you believe that a person should not have to be a millionaire or a multimillionaire to provide from their family for their family because you're not blah blah blah. Well, they've come into this situation where they played in the NFL, especially the veterans, right? Their families have gotten used to um, certain things, certain lifestyles, and they want to keep up those lifestyles. And they also want to be able to not just take care of this iteration of the family, but the family that they will have forever and ever into perpetuity, meaning they have children and their children will have children and their children will have children and so on and so forth. So when we talk about generational wealth, that means that you can leave behind money for your children and your grandchildren and your great grandchildren and your great great grandchildren, the ones that you'll probably never meet. But you've done a service for them through playing a game, a kid's game, they say. Okay. There ain't too much kiddie about football, but a kid's game, as they say, you were able to play it for just professionally 10, maybe 15 years, right? And you were able to make enough money to support your family for generations. So yes, it is that type of thing. So now with Za'Darius, right? You might come back because you see he hasn't signed with any other teams. You might come back and you might go, or you might not come back. If you don't come back, yeah, you do want me to come back. Yeah, I'm with Cash Doll. Yeah, I love Detroit. Yeah, it's great and everything, but there's the matter of that $11 million that y'all not gonna give me. So it's a tenuous situation, but I do hope he comes back because he gives us so much flexibility, and the way that he gives us flexibility is in the draft. Okay, so the question was asked a little bit earlier: who do I believe that we will pick at number 28 if we do not trade up? And the answer is, I don't know. But I do believe it will be an edge rusher. Why do I believe that it'll be an edge rusher? Well, because Dan Campbell was asked a question by the illustrious Dan Miller of Fox 2, who calls the Lions games. If you guys don't know, gonna get hit, gonna go down, touchdown, Detroit Lions. You know what I'm saying? Or sack, Aiden Hutchinson. That's the man they call Sonic. That's Dan Miller. Okay. So if you guys didn't know that, if you heard the radio calls, that's him. So he sat down with Dan Campbell at the owners' meetings, and he said, well, he asked him a question. He made a comment and he wrapped up a question with the comment. He said, basically, you guys were able to get to the quarterback. You were able to hurry him, lots of pressures and things of this nature. You just weren't really able to finish. Basically, do you understand the importance of getting that quarterback to the ground? Dan Campbell said, absolutely. We absolutely understand the importance. And that is the next step. You got to finish. You got to finish. Yeah, we can get to him and everything, and that's nice, but you got to finish. Okay. So that, if you guys are paying attention, if you listen to what Dan Campbell was saying after the games during the season, when it was, yeah, pressure. Pressure's cute now. Pressure's cute, Dan. But what about the sacks? And Dan was like, yeah, sacks. I don't really know if sacks are really all that important as long as you can get the quarterback off of his spot, blah, 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 yada, 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 coach speak. Okay. But now he's made his true intentions felt. He does really value sacks. Why does he value sacks? He said, well, because we're trying to get him into second and long, third and manageable. Now, third and manageable for offense is different than third and manageable for defense, right? Third and manageable for the offense is 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3, 2, right? Third and manageable for defense, you want that thing 3rd and 10 or longer. Okay. So as he said, we're trying to get them into those situations. What do you have to do? You have to finish. You have to get the quarterback on the ground. So I do believe that they're going to prioritize someone with the 28th pick if they don't move up. Now, Brad Holmes' track record tells you he is going to move up. The only draft that he did not move up in the first round was the first one. Right? Sorry. Yeah, the first one, because technically with the Hutch draft, he moved back into the first round to grab JMO. Okay. But he stood pat at his pick for Penei Sewell. He stood pat at his pick for Aiden Hutchinson. Okay. But that was the second year, and he did trade back into the first round for JMO. Okay. So if we're going to count that he traded back up into the first round to grab someone, he went all the way up to number 12. So we'll say he did trade up in the first round to make that pick. Okay. So the first year was the only one that he didn't make a first round trade. So I really believe that they will go up in that range, probably. And it depends on how the draft falls. If the draft falls in a way where a lot of these defensive ends that we thought were going earlier, they don't go. And I really believe with all these teams out here needing quarterbacks, we could see some funky stuff happening with the quarterbacks if Shedeur is not picked by either the Giants or the Raiders. If that doesn't happen, we might start seeing some movement or some other teams trying to get up to grab him and stop his slide wherever that is going to go. So that may affect the draft in that way. So right now, if I had my guess, I would say that they trade up to around number 20. Abdul Carter seems to be trying to tank his draft stock with all these injuries. But for him, even if he's injured, even if his foot is broken in half, I still think that someone drafts him in the top 10. So I don't think his draft stock is going to fall too far. But I believe he will be the first domino as far as edge rushers. I don't think that there's any world in which he's not the first edge rusher chosen. So if we say up to number 20, it depends on who they like. I love Jihad Campbell, but he's not an edge rusher. If it's 14 to 17, I think it's Mike Green. Mike Green has so much production. Mike Green has the moves. He has the spin move. He's able to split blockers. Spit blockers was not what I was trying to say. But he's able to split blockers and do a lot of things. So Mike Green paired with Aiden Hutchinson would be a freaking nightmare for defenses. So I would say look for them to make a move like that. I just don't believe in them standing pat at number 28. I just don't. All right, let me get to some of your comments. Motown Mitch says, "What up, though, Master Pimp, Special Ops, the Don Motor City Don P." What up, though, Motown Mitch? I love Motown Mitch. I got to get you on to just do my introductions. We got to record one. Devin Davis says Josh Sweat would have been a better fit than Myles Garrett, in my opinion. Just so here's the thing. If you got Myles Garrett and Aiden Hutchinson, I think there would be a lot of offensive coordinators that would just give up. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you guys, I know everyone has seen that meme, that gif, and the dude is like, that would be the offensive coordinators. They'd be like, listen, y'all, I wish we had a plan, but yeah, hey, just go out there, man, and pray. Pray and do what you got to do. Just pray. You know what I'm saying? Pray for help. I think that would be the game plan. Detroit Fan Man says, "What's Z's middle name again? Asking for a friend." What did I say? Darquavius? I don't know. Darnarius. I have zero idea. It's just let's go with Darquavius. It's it's easy to remember. Darquavius. Okay. All right. Let me see here. Just a fan says, and for your Uncle Sam. Right. Detroit fan, who at 28, if we don't move, I think that's kind of easy. Has the second youngest guy on the whole board, went to MCDC's alma mater, the newest team in your fantasy league, Mr. Nick hurting for a squirting. So here's the interesting thing, right? All right, hold on. Devin Davis says, but would Garrett be a good culture fit like Sweat? I don't. So before the whole situation, the only marring of Myles Garrett's character was taking off Mason Rudolph's helmet and beating him over the head with it. He did claim that there was a racial slur hurled at him. I don't know anything about Josh Sweat's character. I just feel like, you don't hear anything about him. So he's probably just one of those guys that puts his head down and plays football. Myles Garrett being a culture fit, I'm pretty sure would have been a thing. I don't, you don't really hear anything but good things about Myles Garrett. So, their salary is for Uncle Sam. Right. I got you. All right. The Nick Scorton thing is interesting. Okay. Because if you look at Nick Scorton from Purdue, he was a beast. He gave like Michigan some problems. Now, Purdue didn't give Michigan problems, but Nick Scorton did. He was great against the run, and he showed more pass rushing chops at Purdue than he did at Texas A&M. I think the entire scheme at Texas A&M, because didn't he drop like 30 pounds or something like that for the draft? So that's crazy. If your playing weight was 30 pounds heavier than you're comfortable walking around weight, then I feel like you probably were asked to put on those pounds to facilitate yourself in the scheme. So if we're looking at his Texas A&M tape, I understand why a lot of people say that they remind him of Josh Pascal. From what Dan Campbell said about getting to the quarterback and finishing, if that's what you believe, if Dan is to be believed, and he generally is, right? You're not going after another Josh Pascal, because you have a Josh Pascal that doesn't really have a pass rush plan, and he doesn't get to the passer. Now, if you're going after Nick Scorton of Purdue because he already dropped that weight, then I would be interested in that Nick Scorton. So it just depends on what version of the guy you're getting, what version of the guy that they want. Do they get in their own way and be like, "Ooh, it's intriguing"? If he puts on a little bit of weight, do they try to play with the weight and fluctuate and try to make him a half Pascal, half Scorton? If you did that, then I think you would diminish his effectiveness on the field. But if it's Purdue Nick Scorton, I don't have a problem with him at 28. If it's Josh Pascal Nick Scorton, what's the point? Then he's just redundant, right? Before Scorton left the 8-10, he led the conference in sacks. Amen. You trying to make that rhyme? That's what I'm saying. It depends on the version. If you're bringing him in and you're like, look, your job is to kill the passer, then yes, I have no problem with Nick Scorton at number 28. His playing weight at Texas A&M was 280. I want him at around 260, and I want that Purdue 4-3 rush and who would have been top 10 pick if he likely stayed the course with the Boilers. You think he kind of tanked his draft stock by going to Texas A&M? What up, those salty pork chops? Detroit Fan Man says, feel like we're on the exact same page. Yes. If you are bringing in the pass rusher, Nick Scorton, bring him on in. If you're bringing in the Josh Pascal, no, thank you. Stay over there. Stay wherever you are. All right. So a couple other interesting tidbits that did come out of the meetings. Okay. We have the JMO stuff. We have the Johnny Moe stuff. We have the Shep stuff. So what do you guys want to dive into? Let me know in the chat. Also, let's take out this time to say, if you are not a subscriber of the Motor City Cats, what are you doing? Make sure you go over there after the show. Okay, don't leave now. Just go over there after the show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you share. If you are interested in knowing, this is being simulcast on both LNU and Motor City Cats. We're on our race to 1,000. I know it's the off season, so it's hard for subscribers to subscribe. I know there have been some people that have hit me up and said they've unsubscribed from everything Lions related because I guess the stress of the off season and the talk about who's going to get picked and who's not going to get picked and who's going to get signed and who's not going to get signed was a little bit too much for him. And also, I guess some of the opinions of other fans, and it's fine. But if you are one of those people that can't get enough Lions talk, make sure that you go and subscribe to Motor City Cats podcast. We talk Lions all the time. That's all we talk. We don't talk nothing else. Timothy Douglas Van Horn says Waymo. All right. Anybody else a little sad of the commish retirement? Yeah, we covered that in the beginning. Good dude. Unfortunate that he couldn't continue his career. I mean, if he wants to come back and play the year like next year, he can medically unretire. You know, Laiatu Latu unretired. He medically retired at Washington, and then he went on to be a top 15 pick. I think he was picked number 14. He was the first defensive player picked in last year's draft, which I was very surprised by. I was not a Laiatu Latu guy. I just wasn't. All right, so we'll get into the Waymo situation. When Brad Holmes sat down with Mike Florio, okay, resident Lions hater Mike Florio, resident Vikings fan Mike Florio. I just want you guys to remember who this man is. And remember that the Waymo trade affected the Minnesota Vikings because the Minnesota Vikings allowed us to go up to 12 and get Waymo while they messed around and got Lewis Cine, who I don't know if he's in the league anymore, but he's no longer on the Minnesota Vikings. That is for sure. He's a safety. I think he was out of Alabama or Georgia? One of them. So Mike Florio asked Brad Holmes, what is it that Jameson Williams needs to do to continue on this trajectory? Because he said this dude is a weapon, right? You can put the ball in his hands and it could go to the house anytime. So Brad Holmes said that he just needs to continue to do what he's been doing, right? He said that he's taken strides. He said that what you don't see on the back end of all of that is all of the maturity and the hard work that has had to go into his development. He said he knew, or they knew when they took him, that obviously he had the injury and he wasn't going to be ready to go, but they knew that there had to be some development on the personal level. They're very happy with what he has been able to accomplish. And obviously, it's not just been through him doing work on his own, but it's been him, getting his timing down and building his relationship with Jared Goff. It's been him, building up the trust of his teammates and the trust of his coaching staff. So it's been him doing the work, but it's also been the team putting their arms around him and embracing him as one of their own. And I think that was very important for him. So the Detroit Lions are very happy with where he is, and they just want to continue to see it. Now they are picking up that 5th-year option. The 5th-year option conversation goes two ways. Okay. And I'll weigh in and I'll give my opinion. The 5th-year option goes two ways. It goes way number one. His 5th-year option is going to be $15 million. Okay. 15. You just saw Jamar Chase get extended for $50 million, right? Jamar Chase just got extended for a bunch of money. What was it? I don't remember the exact number. Jamar Chase is getting a lot of money per year. Let's say Jamar Chase is getting $35 million per. Might even be more than that. It was a 4-year extension. I think he's $160 million. So that's like $40 million per. With, was it 120 guaranteed? So he's getting paid a lot. So if you pick up Jameson Williams' 5th-year option, okay, because he's going into year 4. So you got year 4, year 5. He's paid through year 5. If you're giving him $15 million in year 5, based off of what Jamar Chase is getting and what Amon-Ra St. Brown is getting and what Justin Jefferson is getting, that is a steal. That's number one. Way number two that the 5th-year option goes with J-Mo is you're keeping him around just to see if he's going to prove that he can be mature for another season before you invest all that money in him. And you don't think that he's going to be able to do that. You think that he's going to have some more slip-ups, and that makes you believe that the Lions are keeping him for 2 more years, year 4, year 5, and then they're going to cut bait. And here's where I weigh in on that situation. Is it option number 1 or option number 2? Y'all already know I'm the official keeper of the JMO. I said that before. I need to get shirts made. Option number 1 for me, I believe, is the no-brainer. And it's not just because I love the kid. It's not just because I'm, the card-carrying member as the head of his fan club. Okay. Anyone, if y'all don't know, anyone that was on the JMO slander train and then they want to get back on the JMO fandom train, after last year, you have to come through me. You have to write in your apology. I went on Wake Up Woodward and I accepted Sam Flannel's apology. He didn't know that he had given it, but I told him that I accepted it from him. He bought the jersey. He don't say nothing about JMO no more. Nothing negative. So I accepted his apology. So if you want to give an apology, maybe I should, there's a form that you can fill out. Okay. You can confess your sins and all the reasons that you hated JMO. Okay. And you can leave it on my desk. So as the official keeper of the JMO, I think option number 1, where you're getting him again for a cheaper price than what all of these other people are making, right? He's not going to come close in the 5th year. He's not going to come close to what Jamar Chase is getting. He's not going to come close to, what even Amon-Ra St. Brown is getting. He's just not going to. So you pick up that 5th year option. You have this kid who's dynamic, who is going to be a bigger part of your offense, right? He's already a big part of the offense, getting 1,000 yards and having the least amount of catches of any receiver that got 1,000 yards. But Johnny Mo has said that the big play is back, baby, right? The big play is back. So Johnny Mo, I've said this before, ran a 4.3 40, right? When he was playing, he was a wide receiver. He's probably looking at J-Mo. He's probably looking at J-Mo like, all right, I can't stop drooling, y'all. I just can't stop drooling. Why can't I stop drooling? Right. So he's probably looking at the ways that he's going to use J-Mo to get the ball in his hands, taking the top off the defense. He said the big plays back. So look for him to be featured in this offense. Okay. Look for him to explode onto the scene and probably have a better year than he had even this past year. So yeah, I think Johnny Mo is going to be looking to drive the price way up for J-Mo, right? Yesterday's price is not today's price, and the price of the brick done went up. Okay, if you guys get the references, you get the references. If you don't, I'm sorry. Hashtag if you know, use the hashtag. But I really believe that the option number one is it. And why don't I believe that option number two is it? The reason that I don't believe option number two is it that they're just going to keep the kid on the roster for a couple years and discard him. That's not how Brad Holmes rolls, man. Right? We all talk about why doesn't Brad Holmes spend a lot of money in free agency? Because he loves his guys. And if you are one of his guys that he's hit on, pause, right? A draft pick, I mean, okay, that has been successful, right? With J-Mo being successful last year, which was his third season, if he's successful this coming year and then he's successful in his year 5 season, that'll be 3 years of success back to back to back, right? After coming out of the gate, the first year he was injured. The second year, he got the suspension and again wasn't able to hit the ground running. Now the year that you give him a full training camp with very few distractions. I mean, there was the police thing, which has been rectified, and it was just somebody at Channel 7 trying to get clicks and likes and trying to get somebody to talk about them. Nothing ever came of that. Also, he has since gone ahead and got his permits. So he's got his concealed carry permits. Okay. So if he gets pulled over again because driving on the east side while after 1 a.m., okay, ain't the greatest thing to do. And if he lets the officers know that he has guns in the car again, I can guarantee you there aren't going to be any cuffs. They're not going to be asking anyone to get out because he'll have the permits. Okay. That was the only thing. He did have it registered, but he didn't have the permit. Okay, so it wasn't an illegal gun or anything of that nature. And then he had the thing where he was suspended for 2 games for putting something into his body, and we don't know what it is. They said it was performance-enhancing substances, which is different than performance-enhancing drugs. So we don't know what the substance was, but that was what it was. So now you're looking for him not to have any other issues for the next couple of years. I just think that that's going to make their love and respect for the kid grow. So I don't think option number 2 is on the table. I think it's option number 1 all day. Let me know what y'all think in the chat. You're probably letting me know. So I'm going to go ahead and get to some of your chats so that we can talk about it. What happened here? Ezra D. Rodriguez says, damn, come smoke that with your sister, LOL. This is your sister. Which part am I smoking? So Timothy Douglas Van Horn says he's a stud, a solid player, and a good Robin with Saint. Salty Pork Chop says J-Mo isn't getting wide receiver number 1 money. No, I don't believe that he will get wide receiver number 1 money. But if he does perform the way that I believe he can perform, I know that there are teams out there that would want to pay him wide receiver number 1 money. But I don't believe that that's what's going to happen. I mean, look at what T. Higgins got. If you want to know how much J-Mo could look to get in the next couple of years after the 5th year option, look no further than T. Higgins because he's a number 2, right? What up though, Lisa De Lorenzo? Lisa says, I saw this 5th-year option thing coming years ago. The Lions are not going to extend a player they did not get production from for several years. Yeah, and I think they will extend him once he does it again next year. That's what the thinking is probably going to be there. And then again, the 5th-year option, remember, they picked it up, right? Or they're expected to pick it up. So once they pick it up, that 5th year is paid for. So any extension that they give him, it would be smart to extend him next offseason. Why would it be smart to extend him next offseason? As I said, look at what T. Higgins got. Can you guys think of any more dynamic number 2 wide receivers that would get deals like T. Higgins? Let's just think about it. If we break it down, okay? Let's start in the NFC North. Okay. Lisa says, yes, it is. Take a prove it year. All right, let's look at the NFC North. The Green Bay Packers have all number 2 wide receivers. So I don't know how you don't give them all T. Higgins deals, right? They got 4 number 2 wide receivers. Everybody in the wide receivers room should count for about $200 million against the salary cap once everything's done. Okay. Actually, it would probably be if T. Higgins. What did T. Higgins get per year? Was it 26 million? Something like that. It was significantly less than what Ja'Marr Chase got. All right. So you're saying 26 million, or let's say 25 million times 4 is 100 million. Okay. So the wide receiver room should count for 100 million per year against the cap. If you look at the Minnesota Vikings, Jordan Jefferson and Justin Addison. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Does Jordan Addison get a T. Higgins deal? What do you guys think? What up, though, Mr. Detroit City? Green Bay doesn't pay anyone what they're worth. You're right. They paid Jordan Love much more than what he was worth. All right, Timothy Douglas says no, Jordan Addison doesn't get a T. Higgins type deal. All right, let's look at the Chicago Bears. They got DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. Does Rome Odunze get a T. Higgins type deal? We don't know. We can't really make any we can assume that the answer would be no. Okay? And also, even if he were to get a T. Higgins type deal, he's not going to be up by the time JMO is up. Okay? So because Rome Odunze is coming off of his rookie season. So I don't. You got Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel. I mean, I don't think Deebo Samuel is getting that type of money anymore. So I can't really off the top of my head, I can't really think of anybody. Okay, so let's say that T. Higgins is sitting at 26 million per year right now, and there's not going to be a number 2 wide receiver that's going to get a deal higher than that in the next few years. So now you're looking at JMO does it once again. He eclipses 1,000 yards. He gets more this year. Maybe he gets 1,300 yards. Okay. You re-sign him next year. Why do you extend him next year? Because you're going to get him on the 5th-year option year, that's 15 million. And then if you're paying him, let's say 25 million. Okay. Let's just say that with Saint getting what he's getting, I think he's getting 30 million. Let's say you're like, all right, man, JMO, we can give you 25 million to stay with us, or you can go somewhere else for 27 million. Okay. Or even if they say 24 million, you go somewhere else for 27 million. I don't know that JMO goes, $3 million I really need. Now it's different if you have $3 million only, okay, and you had no money, and then you got $3 million. But if you got $24 million and then you're looking at like, okay, 27 million, I could go to a bad team where I don't have the chance to win, but I can get an extra $3 million a year. Okay. And again, that decision is totally up to him. But liking where he's at, seeing that this team didn't give up on him, and this team gave him the opportunity to play in the NFL and to get paid to get a second contract, I think that he would sign with them. And the reason that you want to do it next year, not just because of that, but because we don't believe that anyone outside of T. Higgins, like, no, I don't think we're going to see anyone reset the secondary market outside of T. Higgins. Okay. Now, George Pickens, that's a different story. Okay. George Pickens is a different story. I'm just thinking about that off the top of my head, but I don't think he's up. I think he was a 2nd-round pick. So what was this, his 2nd year? So he's also got 2 more years. So depending now, if they get a quarterback, if they get an Aaron Rodgers or whatever, and George Pickens is his favorite target, his numbers can go up drastically. And then you're kind of competing with the Pittsburgh Steelers getting a contract done beforehand so that they don't drive up the market. So I don't, right now, as the current landscape is, I think we're safe, but I think you just redo JMO next season. Lisa says 1,300 yards. They have to extend him. They have to. Yes, that's why I'm saying do it next year. Green Bay didn't really have any options but to pay Love. Yes, but they still paid him more than what he was worth. I'm just saying. Right? If you're thirsty and you don't have any options but water, I mean, you have to drink the water. It doesn't mean that you necessarily wanted the water, right? You didn't have any choice, but you had to drink the water. And it's like, okay, water's not my favorite, but I'll drink it. Well, okay, you didn't pick your favorite because you didn't have your favorite available, but you had to drink the water, which wasn't your favorite. It's the same situation. All right. So we got through the JMO stuff. We got through the defensive line stuff. We got through the let's stick on the Johnny Mo thing. Okay. Johnny Mo and Shep. Those were the things that we need to get through before we finish up. So Johnny Mo, as we know, was brought in to be the offensive coordinator after the departure of Ben Johnson. Now, there are a lot of people that think that the offense is going to take a huge step back because Ben Johnson was the architect, blah, blah, blah. Well, Osama Ben Johnson apparently wasn't the architect of the Detroit Lions offense. He wasn't the sole architect, I should say. It was a collaborative offense. We've heard before that this was Dan Campbell's offense, but Ben Johnson was just calling the plays. Well, again, and he said this before, so this isn't news, but Johnny Mo was brought in here to keep the continuity. And I'll tell you guys my broader point after this. Okay, so this is a small part of a broader point. He was brought in to keep the continuity of this team, this roster. It was cited that he knows the players, he knows some of the staff that's still here because he was here in 2022. He's also part of the architectural team of the Detroit Lions offense. So he's familiar with Jared Goff. He knows what his strengths and weaknesses are. Okay. And this was the big thing about Ben Johnson. Everyone was lauding Ben Johnson because it was like, okay, Ben Johnson sat in that room with Jared Goff eating Chick-fil-A for 3 days, understanding his strengths and weaknesses, figuring out what he liked and what he didn't like, and putting an offense together. Okay. Well, Johnny Morton has some of the same qualities, the same abilities as far as it goes to understanding what Jared Goff is and what Jared Goff isn't, what Jared Goff can and what Jared Goff cannot do. Okay. So the continuity and the familiarity was in there. The other thing that Dan Campbell said was about David Shaw. And he said specifically that David Shaw will cover his blind spots. Okay. David Shaw came from the NFL. We know him as the head coach of Stanford. He was there for, I believe, 12 years. He's very successful and did all these things. But David Shaw came from the league. He said he's a football guy. That's what he is. That's who we brought in here. We brought in a football guy. The knock on Johnny Mo when he was the offensive coordinator of the New York Jets. Okay, now you have to take this with a grain of salt. You take it with a grain of salt because it's the New York Jets. Okay, when he was the offensive coordinator of the New York Jets, Todd Bowles apparently fired him because their philosophies didn't align. They thought he passed the football too much. Your quarterback was Josh McCown. Your wide receiver was Robbie Chosen Anderson. Your running back was Bilal Powell. Each one of those people had a career year under Johnny Morton. Why he was fired when the Jets offense sucked. Like, your players that you have, the personnel that you have sucks. But you expect miracles. Okay? You wanted me to run the ball more, but the running back that I had there, who is Bilal Powell? All right, like, we know the name, okay? But Bilal Powell was never a guy that you were gonna go, hey, I want Bilal Powell on my team. Like, when Bilal Powell's a free agent, you're like, hey, we got to get Bilal Powell, y'all. Right? I don't care what you got to do, trade for him, whatever, get him. No, that wasn't Bilal Powell. Bilal Powell is probably a third tier, maybe even fourth tier running back in this league. And he had a career year under Johnny Mo. So I believe that Johnny Mo, again, looking at J-Mo, looking at Gibbs, got wiped your mouth. You know, can't stop drooling. But David Shaw was said to be able to cover his blind spots. So if he does get too pass happy, remember, David Shaw is the run game coordinator. Okay. Sorry, he's the pass game coordinator, along with Hank Fraley, who's going to be the run game coordinator. But he's the pass game coordinator, and he's going to be able to say, hey, Johnny, you passing too much. Let's get Jahmyr Gibbs the ball. Let's get David Montgomery the ball. So when they are putting their game plan together, if Johnny Morton's game plan is too pass happy because he's just trying to feed St. Brown, he's trying to feed J-Mo, he's trying to feed Laporta, he's going to be like, look, you know what I mean? Running the football is where the bread is buttered, so go ahead and butter the bread. So I'm really happy with that, and I think that Dan Campbell is an incredible hirer of people, and he's an incredible assembler of talent, especially when it comes to coaches. So I believe that our offense will be just fine. The other thing, Coach Shep, okay, there will be changes to the defense. Dan Campbell said that Coach Shep has already been going over cut-ups from last season and finding and making notes and going, here, I like this, what we did here. Here, I don't like this. Let's do this differently. Okay. So for those of you, and we'll have to wait until the season, we'll have to wait to see what it looks like because the preseason is not going to tell us much. But I don't like this. Let's do it differently. A lot of people that were critics of AG, they criticized the man coverage and all these other things. The man coverage scheme is not going anywhere. However, what I did say before is about how you can change your man coverage to be other different coverages. You can play press man, you can play off man, you can play combo coverage where you combo coverage can be any number of things. You could combo two zone coverages together. You can combo two man coverages together, right? You can play off man on one side and press man on the other side, depending on the abilities of your cornerbacks. You also can play man and zone in the same coverage. Over here, you can play cover two. Over here, you can play man, off man, press man. Over here, you can play cover three. Over here, you can play off man, press man. There's a lot of things that you can do, and I think that there's going to be things that get mixed up, and there's going to be a fresh take. Again, I also called for the defense to be more linebacker centric because remember, AG was a secondary guy. He was a cornerback. Shep is a linebacker. Okay. Now, he also was able to, and this was the thing, AG allowed him to work with all of the other position groups. So everybody knows Coach Shep and everyone understands the standard that he's going to give you. Okay. The standard is going to be the standard. As Mike Tomlin says, the standard is the standard. It's not changing. Okay. But the way that they execute things probably will look a little bit different. I think that you're going to see a lot more linebacker coverages and a lot more linebacker blitzes. I think you're going to see that the linebackers are going to be more integral, which is another reason why I believe in the first round, if it's available, you're going to get Jihad Campbell. Okay. You gave Coach Randall L. Jamo. Okay. You give Coach Shep Jihad Campbell. If you give Coach Shep Jihad Campbell, who's a Swiss Army knife at the linebacker position, who can play the edge, who can play the run, who can play the pass, okay? Right? Okay, probably playing the run, probably getting washed down and into the running lanes is his biggest weakness. So they'll have to fix that and coach that out of him. But man, this kid can make plays all up and down the defense on all three levels of the defense. This is the thing. This man can play safety for you in some looks, right? He's going to be a quasi safety, not a real safety, but a quasi one. So I would look out for Jihad Campbell. If he's there, I don't think he'd be there at 28, but I've seen him mocked as high as 10. So that's, as high as 9 to the Saints. So, yeah, I believe those are the things that are going to happen with Coach Shep. Now, here is the broader point. We talked about the continuity of the Detroit Lions. We talked about continuity in coaching staff, bringing in Johnny Moe so this offense could have continuity. Coach Shep knows everyone. He's super smart. He's the next man up. Dan Campbell believes that he'll be a head coach in this league sometime soon. However, him knowing everyone, him having an amazing staff that has either been around or they came in new, highly recommended, like a Casey Rogers. You got Sean Dion Hamilton, who was promoted to linebackers coach, okay, from within. Continuity. They re-signed a lot of their guys. All right. They re-signed Coyote Iwasika a few days ago, Awasika. Okay. They obviously re-signed Marcus Davenport. They're looking at extending Kirby Joseph. They're giving Jamo the 5th-year option. They're looking at extending Hutch. Okay. They're not bringing back guys like Zadarius Smith at the price point that they were at so that they could have the money so that they can extend their players and re-sign others. The Detroit Lions were a 15-2 team last season. The organization likes where they're at, which is why you don't see the splashes. Now, you don't see the splashes because they were a 15-2 season. This is a much better roster than what they had when they came in here. Brad Holmes said in the press conference, or not in the meeting when he sat down with Florio, one of his biggest haters. The guy that the guy that you show up to his funeral to make sure he's dead. One of your biggest haters. Okay, I had to get that one out there. So he shows up. He says that this defense or this team, what happened is that we got a lot better on defense. And that's true to a certain extent. He said before the injuries happened, which, of course, okay. Before all the injuries happened, for some weeks in the season, we were a top 5 defense on many different metrics. So this is why the Trey Hendrickson trade hasn't happened. I'm not going to say isn't happening. It hasn't happened. The Myles Garrett thing, that's not on us. That's not on any team in the NFL. He decided to take the money to go back to Cleveland. I mean, if they pay you $40 million a year, what are you going to say? It wasn't really about winning. And I don't begrudge anyone. Like, if you think that promises of fixing the quarterback situation, speaking of that, Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, has finally admitted that the Deshaun Watson situation was a mistake. He said that they are still recovering from the swing and a miss on Deshaun Watson. So Deshaun Watson, as soon as he can be cut, maybe even before that, maybe they'll go ahead and eat up some dead cap and just take it on the chin and move on. Deshaun Watson will not be a Cleveland Brown for too much longer. All right. So anyway, with them trying to sell Myles Garrett this thing on the quarterback position, I don't know. I believe that they're going to be taking Cam Ward unless Tennessee takes him. But I don't know. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going to the Browns because I think that's one of those teams that Deion's going to refuse him playing for. I don't think he wants his son in Cleveland. Why would you? His career is going to be ruined. But the point is, as I said, they like their guys. They like who they have. They like the nucleus. They like the culture. They like everything. So this is why they're not going out to get the bigger players. Now, if you knock it out of the park in the draft by fixing your defensive line, then I believe that this team will have one of the most elite rosters in the NFL. I can't call it that right now. Our offensive talent definitely is elite. Our defensive talent, we have elite safeties. Hopefully we're going to see elite cornerback play this year. But that elite cornerback play starts from the guys up front. And if your guys up front, and I've said this before, if your guys up front are elite, then the rest of your defense looks elite. If your guys up front are good, then the rest of your defense looks good. If your guys up front are average, then the rest of your defense looks average. If your guys up front suck, then the rest of your defense sucks. Okay? Because it's not about an individual player. Okay, we have a Kirby Joseph who's a top 5 safety, however, or a top 3, whatever it was, safety. However, we've got 4 guys along the defensive line who were working at the Piggly Wiggly yesterday. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because they ain't stopping nobody from running the ball on them. They ain't stopping nobody from throwing the ball on them, and they're not getting to the quarterback. Another thing that gives me a little bit of pause, right? I understand the importance of stopping the run, and Dan Campbell reiterated that, and he said that basically, you can get run on or you can get passed on. If you get run on, that really demoralizes a defense. It takes the soul of the other team. If you get passed on, which obviously you don't want to do, it's a little bit different. Okay. And this is where the conversation started when Dan Miller was asking him about the the edge rushers and being able to get to the quarterback. So I believe that in the first two picks, that is going to be addressed in some way, shape, or form. Whether you get two edges, whether you get an edge in the defensive tackle, or whether you get Jihad Campbell and an edge. I believe they're going to address the defensive line in some capacity in round 1 and round 2. I hope I'm right. But yeah. So that's what we have for today. Get your mailbag questions in. We'll do a quick mailbag section. Make sure you get them in. Again, guys, if you have not subscribed to the Motor City Cats podcast, where you can find me every Tuesday, every Wednesday, and every Friday, okay, on the Motor City Cats podcast, okay, because you can find me here on Monday. I'm on both. I'm on Motor City Cats and I am on LNU. So at the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Go ahead, give me a subscription. Go ahead, share this with everyone. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Smash the like button and all these things. And again, you can hang out with me all throughout the week. So make sure you go and subscribe to Motor City Cats. All right, so get your mailbag questions in. I'll put them up on the screen if you have them. If not, I'll see you later. Let's see here. Lisa De Lorenzo says, I think they will take a DL player only if their guy is available when they are ready to pick. If not, it will be OL. That's why I believe they're going to trade up. Because I think that this draft is too. So that works to our, I don't want to say detriment. So that's the good and the bad. Okay. If Brad Holmes falls in love with an offensive lineman and then he goes, well, I can get a defensive lineman in the second round. You can. But if you had traded up for a top tier guy to pair on the other side of Hutch, like a Mike Green, right? If you're going to trade up for an edge rusher, I would like for it to be Mike Green. What up, though, Tactical Sport? So that's my wish. Edge rusher, Mike Green. Any position, Jihad Campbell. All good, Tactical. You got to eat, man. You got to eat. Got to fill up the fridge. Again, for those of you that didn't hear at the beginning of the show, unfortunately, it doesn't look like KG will be able to join us anymore. There were some people were upset that he came on the show. That's all I'm going to say. I can't get into specifics. Some people were upset. So here's the thing that if I go on track records, okay, because that's all I can go on. We tried to go on wishful thinking. We know Brad Holmes is very consistent. Brad Holmes is never traded out of the first round. Okay, now if you're talking about trading back out of the first round, Brad Holmes has made a pick in the first round every single year. He's never traded out of the first round and not made a first round pick. So here's what I would say. He's probably not going to do that. And he's probably going to make a pick in the first round. I think that he would trade up based on his track record, right? Based on his track record. And I don't think BPA is still a thing. I think it's BPA, but position specific. Because at the same time, you can't tell me that you want to fix your defensive line and just hope and wish that the guy that you're going to sit there at 28 and the guy that's there is the best player at the defensive line position who's remaining. I don't think you can do that. Okay? Because then you go, oh, but this offensive lineman is better, and then I'll just pick the offensive lineman. And this is how you go on continuing to neglect the defensive line. You watch it on replay? All good, my guy. All good. So yeah, I don't know about trading out of the first round, but trading back in the draft is something he's done before. He moves up and he moves down. All right. Mailbag questions, mailbag questions. If you got any, get them in. Check the Discord. See where those are at. Oh, oh. So if Brad and Dan's edge is Jack Sawyer, he does not trade back. See, now you're talking about an inferior player. Look, if he stays at 28, okay? If he stays at 28, then I could see. That's the thing, though. I don't know that makes any sense. The reason I don't know that it makes any sense is because if you feel like this position needs to be addressed with top tier talent, you go up and you get top tier talent. Yeah, I don't know what Brad will do, but that's the thing. You go up and you get top tier talent. That you don't just wait for whatever falls to fall. I mean, he didn't think that Terrion Arnold would fall, so he went up to get Terrion Arnold. He didn't think JMO would fall, so he went all the way up to 12 to get JMO. You know what I mean? I'm just talking about first round trade ups. We don't have to talk about Broderick Martin. Okay. He didn't think that Jahmyr Gibbs would fall past 12, so he traded back to 12 from 6 and grabbed him. I think that Brad Holmes has a very good eye on the board. Now you can question some of his picks as far as the later round, but he has a pretty good success rate in the first round. Tactical Sports says, I'm not sure why so many people want Jack Sawyer. I don't think she wants Jack Sawyer, but it's just a hypothetical. Feels like you could trade back into the second and still get Jack Sawyer. And as you said, Brad is more likely to grab the guy he wants earlier. Right. So I don't think Jack Sawyer is the guy that you want. Like out of all of these people that you've seen, Mike Green, Abdul Carter, Abdul Carter is not really, unless Brad is about to shock the world and trade a lot of draft picks. Okay, unless he's about to shock the world and trade a lot of draft picks, and get up to grab Abdul Carter. There's just so much first round talent here on these edges. That, like, okay, just like Nick Scorton. If you believe in Nick Scorton and the reason that his production was not great at Texas A&M. Couldn't you say the same thing about Shamar Stewart, who's 6'6", 290, but he's not really 290. He's closer to 260, right? Similar, very similar body type to Marcus Davenport, who we know can be, and I'm not even going to say when healthy. I'm going to stop using that term. We just know he can be, okay? He can be extremely dynamic, 11 sacks in 9 games, or 9 sacks in 11 games. We know he can put out that type of production. Could Shamar Stewart put out that type of production? Obviously, he's got to refine his pass rush moves. Nick Scorton had pass rush moves because he came from Purdue, where he was a rush end. So he was working on his craft. He was working on his hand movement. He was working on, or his hand placement. He was working on his chops, his rips, his spins. He's working on all that. Because that's what his job was, to get to the quarterback. Right? So what about Shamar Stewart? If Shamar Stewart worked on it, could he develop into a healthy Marcus Davenport? Why not? All right. Lisa says I would trade up for Mike Green, but Brad and I do not always agree. I think if it depending on how the board falls, okay, and you're trading up. Someone said it earlier. If you trade up to the 14 to 17 range, if you trade up there, I believe you're grabbing Mike Green if you're getting an edge. But it also depends on who falls. Okay. Again, I know that Abdul Carter is trying to tank his draft stock so he doesn't get drafted by the Cleveland Browns, but I don't think he falls out of the top 10. I really don't. I saw this silly Lions rumor. It was that Lions may draft Kirby Joseph's replacement. Yeah, let's draft Malachi Starks. So I think they said earlier about not being able to afford um, Zadarius Smith. I believe Kirby's name was mentioned. You know, so you're mentioning Kirby's name because you're going to extend him. Brad drafted Jack Campbell 18, and I would have grabbed Brian Branch. Well, we got Brian Branch anyway. I think I mean I get it, but at the same time, who was in our linebacker room? Derek Barnes hadn't really come into his own yet. You just had Alex Anzalone and Malcolm Rodriguez. So I get wanting to get Brian Branch, but we were able to get him anyway. Um, here's the thing that we have to realize, right? So these GMs, they talk to each other and they ask cryptic questions and things of this nature, and you get a feel for who's going to get taken when, right? So he had obviously some insider information to know that Brian Branch wasn't being looked at in the first round. And I think a lot of what that was his 40 time, right? So you look at the teams that, okay, the 40 time scares you away. The 40 time for Amon Rob didn't scare anybody away. The 40 time for Brian Branch didn't scare anybody away. We're talking about the Detroit Lions, right? So they took him. So when you know that you can get a player later, you take that player later. It shows we differ getting BB at What is this? Getting BB at 44 was dumb luck. I don't know. I mean, we all think the Packers are a dumb team, right? Even though they do have more titles, far more titles than us. Why would you allow the Detroit Lions? And this is what I mean about the teams and their perceptions of players. Why would you allow the Detroit Lions to trade with you if you knew that there was a chance that they would be taking Brian Branch? And also, if they take Brian Branch, they keep you from getting Brian Branch. And you have to see Brian Branch twice a year. If the Packers were high on him, then they would have selected him. And I think that's what it goes the same way for the other 31 teams that passed on him and passed on him multiple times. I don't think that he was that highly touted in NFL circles in order for him to go where he went. He was free to take. No one else was taking him. Right? Now, was he going to fall much longer? No. Was he going to fall out of the second round? No, I don't believe so. Brian G was checking his shorts after we picked BB. Again, why trade with us? You know what I'm saying? That's the thing that doesn't make sense. Like, why would you trade with us if you wanted that player? That's why I'm saying they probably thought, oh, if we come back around to him and he's still there, we'll get him. We'll get him in the third round. You know? So that's the issue there. Yes, it was very dumb. But you know, this is why, I mean, there was a conversation about Hendon Hooker earlier on the heavies, and they were talking about would you rather have Yahya Diaby on this team right now than Hendon Hooker? 1,000%. I'd rather have Yahya Diaby. 1,000%. And Yahya Diaby was one of those people that was drafted after Hendon Hooker, just like Colby Turner and Bryant Young, who are on the line in Los Angeles, along with Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. It's just not fair that it's not fair. They rebuilt their line in 2 drafts. Crazy. All right. If you only could keep one between Joseph and Branch, who would you keep? So now I have to nitpick. Now you're forcing me to nitpick. I'm going to say Kerby Joseph. For the simple fact that Kerby Joseph is not going to get ejected. And he doesn't have the personal files that Brian Branch has. And he takes the ball away at an insane rate. For him being like a kind of Swiss Army knife safety, that's cool. But I feel like you can find a Swiss Army knife safety more so than you could find a ball hawking safety, which is why Kerby Joseph is doing something that no one has done since Ed Reed, as far as the numbers of interceptions that he's getting. So You know, I'm taking Kirby on that one. Yes, yeah, Diaby only since you got nothing from Hendon. Yeah. I mean, I understand that Hendon Hooker was drafted to be a backup quarterback, but draft a backup quarterback later, not when Yahya Diaby or Bryant Young or Colby Turner is on the board. Not when, yeah, you could get one of those three. I would keep Branch because of the versatility. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I hear you. Um, but I just feel like with the way that our current roster is constructed, right? You got Brian Branch can play in the slot. You also have Ennis Rakestraw who can play in the slot, and you have um Amik Robertson who could play in the slot, but it's kind of better on the outside. So um I'm just trying to make an argument for either one. I mean, I don't want to lose either one of them. I can make arguments for both of them. The versatility is the argument that you can make for keeping Brian Branch, 100%. Um, but I'm just gonna say, like, there are other people that could be on the field um, while he's not. So that's what I would say. I just don't. I don't see anybody giving us the production as far as taking the ball away that Kirby Joseph is. All right. Take a couple more questions, comments, and then I have to hit the road, my friends. Hit the road, Jack. Um, Detroit Fan Man says, how many DEs, including Jihad and other pass rushers, need to be off the board before you feel comfortable taking OG in the first, assuming no trade partners and stuck at 28? All of them. All of them have to be off the board. I mean, Nick Scorton got to be gone. Jihad Campbell, freaking Shamar Stewart, Mike Green, James Pierce, um, all of them, bro. If Jack Sawyer is the only one left, take a guard. If Jack Sawyer is the only one left, just take a guard. I don't care. Or trade back is fine. But if you have to be stuck at 28, yeah, just yeah. If Jack Sawyer is your only one remaining, take a guard. Uh Rakestraw was a bad pick. Drafting offensive line may replace some high paid players. So yeah, so if you draft offensive line, you may replace some high paid players, but those high paid players aren't going anywhere. I feel like in this draft, since it is so deep at the position that we need, which is edge, I don't think you can afford to draft an offensive lineman in the first round. Draft an offensive lineman in the second or the third, I don't care. But you need to get one of those premier pass rushers. Okay. Remember what I said about Myles Garrett. Okay. Remember what I said about offensive coordinators being like, uh, like imagine the offensive coordinator going up to a head coach and being like, "Yo, bro, I don't know what you expect me to do, bruh. Biscuits and gravy. I ain't slept. Look at my eyes; they bloodshot. Okay, I've been Mike Green and Aiden Hutchinson. Are you kidding me? Okay, look, what are we supposed to do? Okay, We can't even pass the ball. We might as well just run the football. And you know the Lions are some dogs against the run. What are we supposed to do, coach? What are you thinking? Okay? Because I don't have any answers, coach. I'm freaking out. Okay. Like imagine offensive coordinators like trying to game plan against Hutch and Mike Green or Hutch and James Pierce. Or, I mean, again, it's not going to happen. Hutch and Abdul Carter, right? Yeah. Hutch and Landon Jackson. Hutch and Jared Ivey. Yeah. You know? So that's why I'm saying you got to take a guy in the first round. Honestly, if it came down to having to keep one between Branch and Joseph, I would trade Jamal. What? Oh, there will be no JMO trade talk here. This is the official keeper of the JMO. Abort, prank caller, wrong number. I'm a fan of big old Ennis Rakestraw. Really think he's gonna swing it this year. So Ennis Rakestraw, to me, I didn't like him at number 20. Where were we at last year? 29. Okay, I didn't like him in the first round. And my problem with Ennis Rakestraw was not his ability. He's a dog. You know what I mean? He's a dog ass corner. Don't get me wrong. It was his ability to stay on the field. It was the soft tissue injuries. Soft tissue injuries were the thing that kept him off the field this year. He had the core muscle surgery that he had to get last year, which kept him away from all of the pre-draft process. He wasn't able to work out. He wasn't able to run, do anything at the combine. Then you fast forward to this year, and it's been the hamstring injuries. Okay. If those things go away, then I believe that Ennis Rakestraw can be very successful in the NFL. Brad Holmes has called himself a cornerback snob. I too am somewhat of a cornerback snob, right? Just ask Jeff O'Hell-Nokuda. However, if you can't get on the field, then you are Emmanuel Mosley. No, a very good corner who can't play football, not because he sucks, but because he can't enter the field of play. So I hope that Ennis Rakestraw has better injury. I don't want to say luck, but just the ability to stay healthy, right? Do you think Desmond Watson is going to be a thing, or is he just too big? 6'6", 465 is a lot of DL as a potential Broderick replacement. So where is he projected to go? If you can get him in like the fourth, I mean, yeah, get Broderick out of here. This dude is 6'6", 465. All you really got to do is put him out in the middle and just say, don't move. But I mean, he plays football, man. So he's able to move. Yeah. I would love for him to be good, and I would love for him to be get on the Detroit Lions. But like I said, if you're getting him in the 4th, 5th round, I'm cool with it. Just saying, Ragnow may retire from injury, and Decker has not been Lane Johnson. I get you, but I also understand that Christian Mahogany was picked in the 6th round. I understand that you can get tackles in the first round that suck, and you can get tackles in the later rounds that are great. I just don't think it's as pressing a need this season. You also could band-aid it next year with a free agent. I think you need to get your young core of pass rushers now with a draft that is so deep. Okay. So I just feel like the first round in this economy, you drafted an offensive lineman in the first round in this economy. Brad Holmes. In this economy, Dan Campbell. In this economy, Sheila Ford Hamp. In this economy, no. No, absolutely not. This is the wrong economy to be drafting. Okay, um, to be drafting an offensive lineman. And if your kid asks you what is the economy, you tell them what isn't the economy. If you know, you know. Hashtag use the hashtag. We took Ennis 61st overall. Yes, he was our second round pick last season. Um, yeah, we did draft him 61st, but people were saying he was going to draft. Yeah, he was being mocked to us in the first round. That's what I was saying. I didn't like him at that pick. That's what I was saying. If Marcus Davenport stays healthy, okay, that's again, that's not a sentence I start with. Okay, I'm not gonna say that anymore. I'm just gonna say nothing. I hope Marcus Davenport does well. If Rakestraw stays healthy, if E. Mosley can stay healthy, when do we stop getting injured players and pick the healthy? I don't know. Yeah, I hope this is the year that we stop doing that. Oh, and we need to get rid of Broderick Martin. That's my one for today. I think Detroit man had you covered. Detroit fan man had you covered. He asked about Desmond Watson and as a Broderick replacement. Trade back and get OL and Edge in the second. So you're just trying to get both of nah. Again, there's too many premier guys. Trade up, right? Would you rather? So here's my question, Lisa. Would you rather trade up and get Mike Green, or trade back into the second so you can get some random OL and some random DE in the second round? And I'm pretty sure I know your answer. I mean, imagine Mike Green and Hutch doing double spin moves at the same time. Just putting both tackles in the spin cycle. And then tackles just being like this all game. What are you doing? My head is spinning. I mean, a pack of already chewed bubble gum is still an option for Patrick Martin. How does that help us, man? How does that help us on the defensive line? Um, we need to be greedy, get two edges. No, I believe we're gonna get. We're probably gonna double dip. Um, yes, I would trade up for Green or Michael Williams, but not sure who Brad's looking at. I think Green is the more ready to go right now. But either one of them, if you're trading up to get one, I would endorse that much more than trading back so that you could just get some random offensive lineman and also an edge. You know, but hey, they did visit with Gray Zabel already. It's on the list of pre-draft visits. So they've already visited with him and some other no names. But that's the point. So the point I'm making is like, yes, you would trade up for Mike Green or Michael Williams. So that's what I'm saying. We should trade up for someone. We can address the offensive line later. We can address it in the draft. We also can wait for free agency next year. We can wait for the draft next year. Okay. Because if Frank Ragnow retires next year, I can guarantee you they're going to get a center. Right? They're going to get a center from somewhere to try to replace him. Even if it's a band-aid for 1 year. That's what I mean. Okay, you get yourself a center in free agency, 1 year deal or whatever, depending on how the money is looking as far as the cap. And then you You can draft his replacement. I'm not sure of how a pack of already chewed bubble helps us, but to counter that, how does keeping Broderick Martin help? Well, I'm not saying that you should keep Broderick Martin, but I would just say a replacement for Broderick Martin is not an already chewed pack of bubblegum. A replacement for Broderick Martin would be a player that can play. Okay. So if you get a 6'6, 200 or 465-pound behemoth in the middle and just tell him don't move, he probably would be more effective than Broderick Martin. That's all I'm saying. uh all right. We got any more? If Broderick is not a stud in camp, it is time he goes. Well, I mean, he was kind of a stud at camp this year and didn't do much. This feels bold, but I can't hold back, says Detroit fan man. Michael Williams is a first round bust. Poor Ben, lame bull rush, coverage sack minion. He's a poor man's Josh Pascal. No thanks. Ooh, that does sound pretty bold. But is he coachable? That's the thing. Is he coachable? Because if he's coachable, um, and also if he's playing alongside DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, and Hutch, I think that's part of the coverage sacks that he likes to minion. But for sure, he is raw. That's not a hot take. Michael Williams, is he a finished product? No. He is raw. But I don't think he's a Josh Pascal. Josh Pascal gets no sacks. Okay? He doesn't get them. No, I think I get all of the Broderick Martin intentional Saturday for the day. My hope is we get Mike Green, but we may have to go up far to get him. Okay, here's another question. Here's a question for the class. How far is too far? If you have to give up 2 first rounders, obviously the 2 is you're not giving up because you're pick swapping. If you have to give up the next year's first rounder and the year after that's first rounder, so you're giving up 3 years. Well, you're giving up two first rounders because this year is a pick swap. Could you go up into the top 10 to get an Abdul Carter? Or if you weren't able to get Abdul Carter because you moved up to the top 10 and he was picked before you, then you have your pick of whoever you want at the defensive end position. Would you give up 2 first round picks to do so? Sorry, one more. Broderick Martin is the first third round bust ever. No. He's not the first one. I'm pretty sure he's not the first one. I'm not giving up a first rounder for Green, but would for Carter. You wouldn't give up 1 first rounder? You wouldn't give up next year's first rounder for Green? I think Mike Green's got the talent. And he's already got some polished moves. And then you're talking about Mike Green on the opposite side of Hutch for years to come. That would be pretty tantalizing to me. That's entirely too many first round picks for a rookie, even if it's Abdul Carter. I mean, the Rams didn't have a first round pick for like 6 years, and look how that turned out for them. Then the first time they get a first round pick, they get freaking Jared Verse. Imagine. Imagine. No, maybe a second round for a couple years with the pick swap. If I told you that pick next year would be pick number 32, how would that make you feel? I'd rather have James Pierce Jr. or if we going to move up and give next year's first, got to be Jalen Walker. I didn't see enough from Jalen Walker to move up that far. I thought Jalen Walker, because I'd pick Jihad Campbell before Jalen Walker. I had a list of people. Where's my list? I had them written down somewhere. I think it is here. All right, so I had Jihad Campbell, Jalen Walker, and Demetrius Knight, and they, on a certain draft site I was using, they just so happened to be ranked number 1, 2, and 3 in that order: Jihad Campbell, Jalen Walker, and Demetrius Knight. I felt like Jalen Walker was good against the pass, but not so much the run. Demetrius Knight was good against the run, but not so much the pass. I think Jihad Campbell did everything. So, because they're all listed as linebackers, I would personally pick Jihad Campbell. Okay, because you're a Georgia fan, right? So if he's a linebacker, though, like, do you want a linebacker who can't do anything except rush the passer? Are they going to play him in our system as an edge, but he can't really play, like, he can't set the edge and he can't really play against the run? Or would you rather get an edge rusher who can do both, set the edge, play against the run, and rush the passer? Because I don't think Jalen Walker is in what, the 240 range as far as weight. He's like, is he coachable? Yeah, but I'm just talking about like his size. You're gonna have to move him. You're gonna have to move Jalen Walker is gonna have to primarily be an edge. He doesn't, like, he's not Jihad Campbell. As a linebacker, he doesn't cover, right? He really does one thing well, which is rush the passer. But do you trade up for a guy that only rushes the passer, who is not a complete linebacker? Right? That's what I'm saying. As a linebacker, you are expected to do more. This is what the problem that they had with James Houston, which he wasn't a linebacker when he was drafted, but his original position was linebacker. So they got the bright idea, let's drop him back into coverage. And this is why Deion told him, he said, if you're going to have any success in the NFL, it's going to be as a defensive end. Right? So Do you trade up for a guy that you kind of look at as a little bit more polished, James Houston? I'm just talking about if you're the Lions. No, I mean the weight, the weight. Um, I can do one first round pick for a rookie, meaning this year's swap and next year. Yeah, because the swap is not a pick, but not the swap next year and the year after that. Not for a rookie. Even if I told you the pick would be 32, that's wild. Because if I told you the pick would be 32, that would mean we won the Super Bowl. All right, guys. I must head on out of here. I got work that I got to do. I got to get back to it. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you share. Make sure if you are not a subscriber of the Motor City Cats podcast, let me just make I'm gonna make it easy for y'all to go to the Motor City Cats. Okay, I'm gonna make it real easy for you. Okay. I'm not gonna have you. You're not gonna have to be looking around. Where's Motor City Cats? No, I'm gonna make it real easy for you. All right, I'm gonna put it in the chat. Okay. All right. So right after I end the stream, okay, go ahead, click the link, go to Motor City Cats, hit subscribe. We are on our race to 1,000. Okay, we're on our race to 1,000. I'm partially monetized. We're trying to get fully monetized. I did it for another channel, and frankly, I'm pretty upset. Okay, that I did it for that other channel. Because that other person ain't very great. It's not a very great person at all. But anyway, make sure you do that, guys. Motor City Cats, we back at it. Came to give you stats, none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And I think it's only about 24, 25 days until we hear. Yeah. Let's get ready for it, y'all. All right. I will be streaming it. I don't know if I'm gonna be. I might be doing it with LNU. I'm not sure. Who knows? But we'll keep you posted. But I definitely will have it on my channel, whichever way it goes. But I appreciate you all for hanging out, stopping by, and doing what you do, keeping me company. But go Lions, and we are out. Peace.